Hey everybody, welcome back to another exciting episode of 90s Crime Talk with Stef. I'm your host, Stef. What up? And I'm here with the most beautiful, lovely
Oh,
co-host, my bestie, Neen.
oh,
Hey Neen,
I
how
think you're
are you?
talking about yourself. I'm good. I'm looking a little sleepy today, but
No.
yeah, I'm kind of like, it's like the middle of the week. We're headed
Oh,
downhill, and
yeah.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
just kind of like it. When your day doesn't seem like it's gonna be busy, and then it ends up being busy, and you're like, what the hell?
Yeah,
Dare
it kind
you?
of takes you for like a roller coaster. Like, wait a minute, I just planned on doing this, and then it turns into
Yeah.
17 things. And for you, you have a kid, so that's like times a bazillion, and I'm exhausted.
Yeah, it's like I just told you, she has her very first field trip. She's never been on a field trip ever, so she's going to her first field trip tomorrow, and it's like a whole thing. And yeah, we're gonna go to we're actually go. It's Pioneer something. It's
Women.
like a Pioneer life, yeah, for right. But we're gonna be gold mining.
Oh my
So that's
God.
actually pretty fun. Yeah, so
I
I'm
feel
actually pretty
like
excited.
I feel like we studied that like I'm sure you did at St. Thomas More, but at St. Finbar when I was like in third grade, we learned about
Mm-hmm.
the gold rush and the
Yes.
49ers and how the 49ers came to be, and it's like tied in with the gold stuff. I don't know. I
Yeah,
lost
and
all that.
what's crazy, and I don't know if it's just a sign of the times,
Yeah.
but did your teachers or did you ever read anywhere where they said that the gold rush their thinking might have been like people might have like over exaggerated about it to bring people here?
No, I've never heard that. I just believed it to be Bible truth.
Yeah, same here. And Presley came
Wow.
to home the other day and she was like, "Yeah, um did you hear that like they say that they told people that there was a lot of gold because it's like a conspiracy theory."
Oh,
And I was like, "Okay, we're just going to believe it was real. People
yes.
find gold and they have found it throughout California." Okay. I said, "So it was a thing." I was like, "None of this conspiracy theory stuff
You
cuz
know, Neen, it's been haunting us, right? Like the whole Jamie Foxx thing. But
mhm.
today I came across a story really quickly because it kind of has to do with crime.
Mhm.
About this guy from Alberta, Canada. He was driving past like these mountains with his friend, and he picks up his phone and he sees something in the distance on top of like a snowy mountain, and it's like a figure, and he zooms in and it looks like a big person, and he's like, look, and it's like the friend's like, no, that's not a person, it can't be like on top of a mountain. But like, if you, I'm going to send you the video, if you look at it, it looks like a person, and then it disappears. So then people on his TikTok, this is on TikTok, go back, record. So he goes back, I think he sees it again, and then he finds out that there's actually like a legend or something that someone or something is up on top of this mountain, but no one can talk about it. And it's something to do with like the CIA. And oh my God, now I'm scared talking about it because, long story short, he then posts a TikTok saying, I was just making all this up. And he's kind of looking to the side. And then he posts another video saying, I meant every word before and I'm scared. Then he posts something, another cryptic ass video of like military cars and the CIA, la la la. And then next thing you know, 2 months later, his obituary is like floating around. So, like,
No.
is it a government conspiracy? And it's like, like what's that place with all the aliens? What's it called?
Oh, yeah.
Roseville,
Oh,
Rose
yeah.
something.
Like, yeah,
Uh,
in Area 51.
yes, I believe in that.
Oh,
Okay, now
completely.
I'm scared. But like, I saw that today, and I went down, like you say, the rabbit hole of like, what? I
Yes.
don't know what happened, but he hasn't been heard from since. They were saying you could buy your obituary online, but like he vanished from everywhere.
Oh my gosh,
So
that's so scary.
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm
Like,
gonna send it to you after this because it's like yeah, I was
see, you
chilled.
just never know. And honestly, TikTok,
Mhm.
TikTok may have some things where you're like, huh? But there are a lot of
Yeah.
benefits to
Uh-huh.
TikTok
Uh-huh.
and how, it's kind of like how they have what's that guy's name with the mullet, the blonde one? He's a bounty hunter.
Oh yeah, tiger,
No, not Tiger.
dog.
Dog the bounty hunter, Tiger. Dog the bounty hunter.
Wait, who's the tiger?
You're thinking of the cat guy.
The one that was mauled, the one with the wife with the tiger or something on Netflix. Like he was.
Tiger King.
Thank you.
Yeah.
They look alike.
Yes, they do.
But what?
But Dog the Bounty Hunter, when you think about it, like, he's a bounty hunter. So it's kind of like TikTok in a way has their own bounty hunters where they take cases into their own hands and try to, as a community, find people, and I know some go way off the ledge, right? But some are, it's instrumental how they do these things,
It is.
I'm like, and I'm sorry, the Jamie Foxx thing.
Oh,
Okay, one day he's playing pickleball, which I find odd. The next day he's back in rehab.
yeah. Yeah, that one's a
know.
little fishy. It's sus, and because of the players involved, I kind of believe what he was claiming. That's all I'm gonna say. Because
Yes.
again, like you don't want to talk too loudly, but whatever.
Yes, exactly.
We're just two besties minding our business.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, to each its own. Whatever. It's just, it makes you wonder. But what are you gonna talk about, Steph?
You
Like,
know what?
are you bringing to us today?
Well, first of all, if this is your first time tuning in, everybody, like I said, it's 90s Crime Talk with Stef, but this is just a mere tree branch of our main tree that is the Totally 90s podcast, which airs every Wednesday, where we talk about super cool things of the 90s, because the 90s was just absolutely elite when it comes to decades. And then, so every other Fridays, me and Neen switch off. So you're listening to the Fridays with Steph, the Crime Talk. And then next Friday, you'll catch Fridays with Neen, and she talks about all kinds of things, self-love, like freaking body positivity. I'm sorry, I'm still stuck on it. So that's why I keep bringing it. And like advice on like marriage, parenthood, and so on. So please tune in, because we're just getting started. Okay,
for real.
But that being said, tonight we are going to be discussing a case involving young love, jealousy, and a tragic senseless murder.
Man, what a trio.
Yes,
that's a triple threat right there when it comes to crime talk.
Yep. And this one's a doozy, so buckle up, and we're going to talk about about
that sounds messy.
It does sound very messy. I'm so glad we're in our, what we call our mid love, mid loving. Exactly. But this is the case of the Killer Cadets. All right. Wow. So before we dive on in, let's do a few trigger warnings. We've got murder, violence, graphic description of injuries, and victim blaming. So I thought I'd start with talking about who our villains are first. So let's meet them. We've got Diane Zamora, who was born on January 21st, 1978 in Crowley, Texas. No idea where that is, but it's in Texas. She seemed to just be a good person. She was an honor student at Mansfield High School. She was a devout Catholic, a member of her high school's Reserve Officer Training Corps, or ROTC program. She also had dreams of becoming an astronaut one day for NASA, and this like brewed from when she was really little, and throughout growing up, she was like, I'm gonna do this. She would wake up hours before she had to go to school and would cram all the time. She was always studying. She really took her studies seriously. She was quiet and a little introverted, but there's nothing wrong with that. In 1992, she meets a fellow ROTC cadet named David Graham, who is an aspiring pilot. And like Diane, he was also an honors student. Couldn't find his date of birth anywhere, but he was the same age as she was. They were friends first and did not begin dating until August of 1995, when you and I were in 8th grade. Or actually, no, we were about to we were about to meet in high school.
Magic was about to happen.
Exactly. So even though it took them a few years to get romantically involved, it wasn't long before they were announcing their engagement to their families. Dang. 1 month after they began dating. Yeah, they were like, I love you. So David and Diane, they knew they were young. but they were committed to one another and decided to wait until they graduated from college before they would get married. So that's, that's pretty mature for like people who like, I love you, I want to get married to you. No one had to sign off on anything. They were just like, we're going to study, we're going to get into the programs we want to get into, and then we'll get married. So they both graduated from high school in 1996. David went to attend the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, and Diane was accepted and attended the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland. I do want to point out that both of these programs are extremely competitive and really prestigious, and both were selected out of a huge pool, of over 10,000 applicants. So like, it was a really big deal. And there's even like a photo of them, which I'll share, with holding their like acceptance and like the brochures of the schools they got into. It's like a big deal. Like everything they were working for manifested. So, okay, you're thinking, wow, this is great. Oh my God.
Yeah, for real.
Right.
So David, hear about young scholars.
Right. And like, they're in love, but they're like also handling business. They're like, I love you, but I want a career. So I was like, okay, I'm a fan so far. David and Diane's relationship was intense and passionate. They were extremely competitive, not with each other, but with everyone around them. They were really driven, which is probably one of their biggest like attractions to one another. And they pushed each other to excel academically and athletically. So they each were like big into sports. And I read that David was on the cross country team. And I also read that she was, but it was mostly focused on him, and you'll see why later. However, their lovey-dovey supportive relationship took a dark turn in December of 1995 when Diane found out that David had been intimate with another woman. Yeah, I saw an interview of Diane actually years after the fact, where she talked about how she found out. So they had been studying, and she was like, I'm tired, I'm gonna go to bed, like this is enough. And she wanted to either go to bed or take a break. He was like, no, you got to keep going, we got to keep our eye on the prize, like, come on. She was like, shut up. So like they start fighting, and rather than leave, David sits down and tells Diane in a very dramatic way, like, I have to tell you something. So then he tells her, I cheated on you with another woman. She was devastated, especially because they had committed to one another, not just heart, but body as well, if you catch my drift. So, as I mentioned before, Diane was Catholic. And as a Catholic, she took her virginity seriously and wanted David to be the only man she ever slept with. Very Donna Martin-esque.
Yeah, for real.
Since she believed David was her one true love, and she knew that they were going to get married one day, she actually ended up losing her virginity to him shortly after getting engaged. She was like, you know what? God's going to forgive me. He'll understand. I mean, this is going to be my husband. It's going to be the only person that I'm going to knock boots with. So it's fine. It's okay, everyone. But so she took this little sexual escapade hard. According to David's account of the evening, which we'll later get into, he was completely kind of blown away by her reaction to this. It wasn't just like, what, like, oh my God, how could you? Or I hate you, get out. She was hysterical, as anyone would be, sobbing, screaming, bashing her head against the walls and the floor, the whole nine. Okay. Now, David truly loved Diane, and he admitted the affair was not worth it and did not want to lose her. Actually, he was pretty disgusting about the way he would later describe this sexual encounter. He was it was short-lived and hardly appreciated. And that's a direct quote. He told Diane, I know, ew, right?
What a scumbag.
Yeah. He told Diane, oh, look, I'm going to do anything if you just forgive me, please. Like, I don't want to lose you. I'll do whatever you want. So she's still in hysterics and starts screaming at one point. She's all, killer, killer. When she calms down, she told David, look, you have no choice but to eliminate this other woman in order to, are you ready for this? In order to restore the purity of our love. So by murdering another person, it makes it all better. Like it didn't happen if that person's no longer on this earth.
So wait, she was being truthful. Like she
Yeah,
actually was being serious.
yeah, yeah, dead serious. David was like, he wants to
Okay.
make his boo happy. So he's like, okay, baby.
Okay. I can't right now.
Yeah. And you're going to get more and more annoyed. So before we get into the murder, let's meet the other woman. So who is this other woman? This
Bring her
woman,
out.
I know. This woman turned out to be 16-year-old teenager, Adrienne Jessica Jones. Okay. She's not a woman. She's a teenager. She's a minor. So she was born on June 18th, 1979 to parents Bill and Linda in Mansfield, Texas. She had two younger brothers, Justin and Scott. She was so pretty. She was popular, well-liked, also an honor student at Mansfield High School. And she was on the cross-country team as well. So as it turned out, she knew both Diane and David, even though she was only a sophomore when they were both seniors. So they knew each other because, like, David was on the cross country team. She was on the cross country team. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But according to Adrienne's parents, and I'm sorry, I waffle between Adrienne and Adrienne, but I think it's Adrienne.
Mm-hmm.
She never really gave them any kind of grief. She was a really good kid. She would occasionally sneak out after she supposedly went to bed, but that was pretty much it. She was good. She was also tight with her family, which is a rarity nowadays. So her parents pretty much knew everything that was going on in her life. They knew that she had a boyfriend named Tracy Smith, and they were okay with this as long as their relationship didn't get in the way of her studies and that she abided by their rules. And she did. On the night of December 3rd, 1995, Adrienne had gotten special permission from her parents to talk with her boyfriend on the phone a little bit past her bedtime. He had just gotten back from a trip away and they wanted to bless you.
Sorry, sneeze.
Sorry. P.S. We have a YouTube channel, so that's why I started laughing. You do the cutest sneeze face.
I was trying before it was coming. I was like, let me press mute real quick.
God, you're so cute. Oh my God.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. So anyways, Adrienne's talking to her boo on the phone and they're just catching up, smooching, whatnot. And Linda, who's Adrienne's mom, she was like, she overheard, or she was keeping an ear open while she was on the phone. And she saw that, or noticed that Adrienne got another phone call, like beeped in. And Adrienne tells Tracy, hold on a sec, clicks over, answers. And she noticed when she got off the phone that Adrienne's demeanor kind of changed a little bit. She seemed like off. And Linda was, when she was done and she had hung up with Tracy, Linda asked her daughter, like, is everything okay? Who called you when you were on the phone with Tracy? Adrienne said that it was her friend David. And Linda didn't think much of it and just, said goodnight to her daughter and went to bed. The next morning, Linda was woken up by one of her sons who said that Adrienne's alarm had been going off nonstop, the way Nane's alarm goes off for like 5 hours when she sets it. Actually,
I'm like, who's Nane?
Actually, mine too. And Angel's like, what the hell? But yeah.
Okay, and you be capping on me. Hello. I was in a good sleep.
Oh, you were. It's so cute. But so it was going off. So he goes into her room to like yell at her, like, what the hell? Saw that she wasn't there. Linda goes to her room and noticed that the bed hadn't been slept in, but she tried rationalizing before freaking out and told herself maybe Adrienne went for a run, which is something she did. She would sometimes wake up early and go for a run, but then she saw that her running shoes were by the bed. So then she thought maybe she snuck out and stayed at a friend's house. This was something that she didn't do though, but she was like, maybe she did. But by around this time, it was like time for school. So she gave the school a call. And the school was like, no, she has not reported to school. She's not here. And so she immediately called the police, who just sprung into action. Now, so all of this is going on. She's missing, like a whole day passes. Parents are in an uproar. 24 hours after, you know, what we'll later call the murder. She's still missing.
Mhm.
And but her body was discovered by a farmer who had been driving by. The area was pretty remote where the body was, and he didn't know it was a body at first. He's just moseying along, like he's like, "What the hell's that?"
Shoot.
Can you imagine? And he's like, "What's that
No.
pile? Like, what is that?" And so he got closer, and then he saw it was a woman. So then he was like, "Okay, maybe she's sleeping." So he watched some more, and then he realized it's okay, she's not moving and it's been a minute. So he gets closer, and that's when he saw that no, this woman is clearly deceased, and the state of her body was shocking.
Oh my
She
God.
she'd been badly beaten. One side of her head was caved in, and she had 2 gunshot wounds to her head and the forehead and the cheek. She was dressed in a sweatshirt and shorts, but had no shoes on, just socks. And when the police arrived on the scene, because he called the cops, like, hurry up. So they flew
Mhm.
out there. They found 2 shell casings near the body. And they also, so they assess the situation, get the evidence, move the body to the medical examiner's office so they can immediately like start examining. And thankfully, the medical examiner was able to determine that she was not sexually assaulted, because when news broke out about, the murder, and when they found out who it was, they were like, "What the hell? Like, is this the work of a serial killer? Is this a rapist? And then he just took it too far." So they thought
Mhm.
sexual assault was tied to it, but she had not been assaulted
Mhm.
sexually anyway. So they confirmed that. They also
They just wanted her
confirmed,
dead.
well, especially because the ME was able to also determine that she probably had been like attacked from behind. And then the shooting itself was done execution style at close range. So it was
Wow.
like, yeah. Though she had clearly been bludgeoned and beaten, the cause of death was confirmed to be death by gunshot. So
Well, that's
yeah.
good. I mean,
And
not good, but hopefully she didn't have to endure, like, hopefully that killed her
like
instantly, and
bleeding
whatever she
out.
did after that.
Yeah,
That's
I agree.
horrible.
Yeah. And one of the detectives on the case who saw, like, had to see the body like this, he was quoted saying that it takes a cold-blooded person to shoot a pretty young girl in the face from 2 to 4 feet away. That girl was mangled, and it was sickening to look at. So that says a lot about the condition of her body, because cops see everything. So
Yeah.
that was hard to read. So anyways, as I mentioned before, Linda called the cops right away and had reported her daughter missing. And then
Mhm.
all of a sudden, 24 hours later, this body turns up. So the cops, they
Wow.
knew it was Adrian,
Mhm.
but they were not able to determine that fact without the help of her parents. Since her face was unrecognizable, the body and I guess the clothing was all they were working with. Bill, Adrian's father, agreed to view the body, God, and confirmed that it was in fact his daughter. So I
How
cannot,
devastating.
yeah, I cannot even imagine what these poor parents, her brothers, her friends, family, the community at large, what they felt when they found out that this innocent teenager, honor student, good kid had been brutally murdered. I mean, why? She was well liked by everyone. No one could like pick out an enemy. Like, what are those people?
Yeah,
Like, she's
exactly.
liked by everybody. So this was going to be a tricky case for the investigators to solve. But before we get into the list of potential suspects, I want to point out that Mama Linda is a badass. And hi, when it comes to mama bears, they will cross the ends of the earth for their babies, and you can confirm that fact.
Mhm. Ain't
So,
that the truth?
so Linda did her own little investigation as well. She found Adrian's address book. Hello, 90s. Remember a little
Mhm.
address book?
Mm. I love address books to this day. Gosh, they need to bring those puppies back. I ain't playing.
I
My
know.
gosh, remember the ones where it was like, oh, okay, go hold on. Hold up. Okay, because
Wait
Stephanie
a
had
minute.
the best address book in
Which
freshman
one?
year and
Oh,
maybe into, I don't know, maybe had it throughout like, I don't know, junior year. It was a black one and it had a buckle,
yes, my
but you had,
organizer, my little planner.
yes, but you had everything. And it was like the cool ones where you could put like your pictures and it had the
Yeah.
little plastic, little pockets and like, and then you also had like your credit card, your ID there. I mean,
Yeah.
man, yours was fire.
Oh
Oh,
man, you just brought me back because I forgot about that. Now I can see it.
they
Oh,
need to bring those back. I know they probably have them.
I think
I think
Walgreens
we just
carries
need to
them.
bring them back
Let's do
ourselves.
it. Let's go back to the
Yeah.
90s for real. Like
Okay.
like screw an iPhone address
For
book.
real, because I don't even know how to work my calendar. The other day, my boss is like, "Oh, did you get these dates down for the assignments?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I'm putting it in my calendar." And then she's like, "Is that your calendar?" And I was texting
Oh,
myself.
oh my God, mean. I'm gonna look for planners for us. You're
Because every
hilarious.
time I try to put it in my calendar on my phone, it just doesn't work. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I press the plus sign and I'm just like,
What?
someone is sweeping. Do you hear that?
Yes.
Or something? It's Tony. Yeah, Tony, if you're listening to this podcast, for real though, hold
I'm
please.
so glad we have a YouTube channel.
He's taping something.
Oh my
But
God.
no, we need to bring that back. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm gonna look those up tonight.
Okay, let's do this because I want like
Okay.
a ridiculous 90 ones. Although the 2000s and beyond has made me lazy because I write everything in my freaking calendar and I buy a fresh planner, the calendar
Mhm.
schedule every year and I'm like great until like the beginning of April and then it just collects dust.
So wait, I have a question real quick. Were you always this like this before Kara, or did she kind of push you into being more like that with
Like
like
what?
like having a calendar?
No, I've
Always?
been ever since started working in the legal field. I've always been about scheduling and yeah, so since 2004, I became neurotic. I have several calendars and it comes in handy because I was helping Angel do her citizenship application last night
Mhm.
and we were able to like pull up travels via the
Mhm.
calendar because I am neurotic and I'll write down like a
Wow.
flag. Yeah.
That's impressive. Now, is because Kara doesn't strike me as someone that's like that. Is she?
She isn't like she hates forms. So like
Mhm.
she does use our calendar though. I just love it. I'm trying to like, and I try to get my attorneys to like do it too, because
Mhm.
like, if you have a deadline on one calendar and it's staring at you on another, and then you have it in your phone, you're not going to forget.
Right. Exactly. No, that's true. I know. I try. I mean, actually I have my, my little calendars, the yearly ones, the notebooks.
Yeah.
That's fine. I like decorating, putting
You're
stickers
so
and stuff. But that one from the 90s, those kind of things, especially with the plastic pockets, and you could put
yes.
pictures
Let's
or
find them. Oh
yeah.
my
Oh my
God.
God.
Yeah, I think that's the secret sauce. Okay, let's
Ugh,
look for
yes, it
it.
is. Okay. No,
Woo!
continue. I'm so sorry about that.
Oh, sorry. We just had to take a trip back to the 90s.
Yes, we did.
So she found her address book and started calling everybody in that book. And then she thought, hold up, Adrian was on the phone and got that strange call from David. And that stuck with her. It just left her feeling kind of like,
Yes, because see, mother's instinct, she knew, even though she told her it wasn't, and it was just her other friend, whatever, she knew deep inside something was just not right.
exactly. So Linda was like, asked a few of her friends, like, do you know a David? A couple of them said, yeah, we do. There's a David on Adrian's cross country team.
Hmm.
So Linda trotted on over to the school and asked the coach about this David, and he confirmed, yeah, there is a David on the team. His name is David Graham. Somehow the cops got wind of this and called David in for questioning. Now, he was not like a suspect, but they just were like, let's follow up on this. David was like, he came off as, yeah, I know her. And then he got really upset and he was even started crying while like talking about her. And they were just like, oh, like he's taking her murder hard.
Hmm.
And rather than, why are you acting like this if you aren't that tight with her?
Mm-hmm.
So do you think they asked him to do a polygraph?
Probably not.
No, they were like, bye bye, we'll see you later. And then they went on the list, next.
So,
So
man.
off he goes because they wanted to, they actually had someone else that was on the top of their list. And no, it wasn't her boyfriend. He was cleared,
Mm-hmm.
though her parents were like, they were kind of like feeling some type of way because he didn't call them after like it got out that Adrian had been murdered. I'm sure he was dealing with like his own stuff and he,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, they were just kind of like, that's kind of messed up. But he was cleared as a suspect. But there was
Mm-hmm.
this girl named Tara, and Tara was went to the school. She had gotten, she's like this violent girl. She had a boyfriend. She accused her boyfriend of cheating on her with one of Adrian's friends, attacks the boyfriend with a knife, I think. It doesn't kill him, but attacks him. And then she like beats the Adrian's friend really bad. I think she did some damage to
Dang.
her face.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, there was like a trial or something, and Adrian testified on her friend's behalf. And allegedly, Tara was like, I'm going to get you for this. She said this in open court. So
Red flag.
people in the school were like, we think Tara killed Adrian. Like there was an open threat. She's got issues. However, Tara was cleared because she had an airtight alibi for that night. So off the list she goes.
Mm-hmm.
Next in line was this guy named Brian McMillan. Brian was this guy that was obsessed with Adrian. He thought she was all that in a bag of chips. He borderline stalked her. He would show up at places where she was, and she's a nice girl. She didn't tell him to F off or anything.
Mm-hmm.
She would just kind of try to dodge him. So that's a
Mm-hmm.
little,
Yeah.
what do you do there? So they brought him in for questioning and asked him for his alibi on the night of the murder. He did not have one. He told them that he had gotten blackout drunk because he had been dealing with depression because all his friends had girlfriends and he didn't. And so he drank himself into a stupor. And he thought, or he said to the cops, I mean, maybe I called her. Maybe I went to her house. I have no idea because I was blackout drunk. So the cops decided this is enough for an arrest. So they
Mm-hmm.
arrested him and they held him for 3 weeks. While he was in jail, they then gave him a polygraph after the fact. Okay, so he's in jail.
Wow.
He passed it with quote unquote flying colors. And then they were like, oh, okay. So he passes that, and they barely had any concrete evidence. So they had to let him go. His parents were pissed and sued the police for this whole thing because, I think he was
Of
questioned
course.
without an attorney, I believe, and all his rights were
Oh,
violated.
dang.
So they got some cash out of that. So anyways, off the list he goes. They had a few other suspects, other leads that weren't really noteworthy like these two, but then the case grew cold for several months.
Mm-hmm.
That is until 9 months later. ready to award someone with the world's stupidest thing to do? Here we go. So remember, Diane went off to the Naval Academy in Annapolis. How do you say that? Annapolis.
Yeah, it's a weird name,
Annapolis.
right? Annapolis.
Yeah, Annapolis. Thank you. While her boo-boo went to the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs. So Diane would talk everyone's ear off about her fiance and how much he loved her. All the time she'd just go on and on and on. Everyone was just like with their eyes crossed, okay, like enough. And she was just totally just very smug. One day she takes it further. She told a friend of hers, David loves me so much that he even killed for me. Yeah. So the friend was like, okay, like who says that? Like if you walk up to me or I killed somebody, I'm like, okay, yeah, so did I. So like,
For real, would you tell on me if I killed someone?
oh my God, this is on the air. Oh my God. I got your back, boo.
Okay, that's what I wanted to hear
Yeah.
too. Okay.
So you even have to ask, but now we have witnesses.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
That's a true bestie right there.
okay, like I'd be there with the like
I got you,
what do
boo. I got
yeah,
you too.
yeah. Like what do you need me to do? Where are we going?
Right?
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
But Diane's homie was like, "You're on crack. I don't believe you." So he like off he goes. So then Diane, not satisfied with that free pass, okay, turns to her two roommates and tells them the same thing. At first, they were like, "What? Like, what are you talking about? Are you lying?" And she's like,
So
"No,
not
no,
just
no,
one person, she kept
no."
going?
Yes. And that was like
Ding
kind of like,
dong.
it was kind of like a free pass because he was like, "Shut up." Like he could have just easily brushed it off because she was all the
Right.
way over in Annapolis, whatever the
Uh-huh.
hell. So, like, how do you like even it would take forever to tie them together. So she like tells her two roommates as she goes into graphic detail and kind of started making them feel uncomfortable. So they immediately went to report the conversation to a Navy chaplain. Yeah. So I don't know, maybe guilt started getting to her. I don't know what made her start just flapping her mouth around, but she did. And then her roommates told somebody. And then within a couple of days of that, the detectives from Texas pulled up to interrogate Diane.
Dang.
Yeah. And
Loose
then,
lips sink ships.
okay. So then Diane all of a sudden flips the script and told the detectives, "I was just playing. I was just I made the whole thing up. I was trying to seem tough, with my colleagues. Like, I just want to be cool." Okay. Because
Too
that's
late.
cool. And then, but since they didn't have any evidence, they couldn't arrest her. Yeah. So Diane was suspended from the Naval Academy, I guess, because cops are showing up, that brings disgrace. And while there's an investigation or whatever the hell going on, you can't be on this type of service.
Right.
So rather than go home, she flies to Colorado to tell David what she had done. And so that they could get their story straight. David was like, "Fuck, Diane, what the hell?" But okay, I'll play dumb too if they come and ask me questions. Like he really was probably like, "Nah, they're not gonna come over here." They pulled up. They pulled up to the Air Force Academy like literally days later or a day later. So at first he tells the detectives, "No, I was not involved in any murder. I have no idea what Diane was talking about, why she told this stupid, outrageous lie. I don't know what's wrong with her." But after a while, David finally cracked. He wrote out a almost 5-page confession detailing everything that went down on the night of December 3rd, 1995, and I guess the super early hours of December 4th. He also included in the confession that, this is sick, while he didn't have any hard feelings towards Adrian, no one could get in the way of his and Diane's love. What? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was he still trying to impress Diane? Because come on.
He wanted to keep his boo, whose eyes just enraptured him. He was quoted saying. Also, I really want to point out something like, which is like so ridiculous this whole time, Neen. He did not have a lawyer present. Okay.
Dork.
No, that's not his fault. That's on the police. Like,
oh shit. And then, no.
Yeah. So he's confessing, and allegedly they had him in custody for hours. So when you're being interrogated for hours, the lawyers can argue like he's exhausted. He'll say anything for you to shut up and so he could leave.
Oh,
so
man.
Just remember that.
Crap.
All right. So, but anyways, at this point,
I have a feeling where this is going, and it's going to piss me off later.
Well,
anyways, I hope it doesn't.
I think you'll be okay.
Okay.
So anyway, so like, yeah, so lawyer wasn't present, but they got their confession. So the cops go back to Diane, who I think was staying with a relative at this point. And they were like, "Hi, we're back. And guess what? You're coming with us." And she was just like, "All right." So she went, and the two lovebirds were formally arrested. I should say that this took place in September 96. So when Diane found
Wow.
out, when Diane found out that David had confessed, and she saw a little bit of his confession, I think, not a lot. She just saw that it was his writing. She decided, all right, the jig is up, and she confessed as well. And their confessions matched. So the cops finally had their cold-blooded killers. But
Wow.
before we get to the trial, we now have to discuss the night of the murder. So, and this was from their confessions. So let's travel back really quickly to December 3rd, 1995. So when Adrienne told her mom that David had been the other caller, she was not lying. David did call her and told her that he needed to talk to her and that he would pick her up that night. And she said, okay. He picked her up around midnight, maybe a little before, and Diane was hiding in the back seat, a la Shanda Scherer, anyone?
That's right. Dang.
Yeah. He planned to drive far enough away from Adrienne's home so he could strangle her to death and dump her body in the lake, weighing it down with some weights he brought with him. He thought it was that easy. So he was like, I'll just, snap her neck, drop her in the lake, easy peasy. So he drives to a deserted field, and Adrienne, she's chilling in the passenger seat. She doesn't know that Diane's back there yet. She just thinks they're just gonna chat. This is her friend. All of a sudden, Diane pops up from behind and just attacks the poor girl, hitting her on the head over and over with one of the weights. David starts strangling Adrienne, thinking she would die quickly, but quickly found out that strangling someone was harder than it looks in the movies or on TV. Okay. By the grace of God, Adrienne managed to get away by climbing out of the car window and ran a little bit away before collapsing and passing out. Diane and David powwow before going after her. David wanted to get the hell out of there. And Diane was like, no way. We need to finish what we started. And David's like, yeah, she knows it's us. She's going to turn us in. So David grabs a gun that he had brought, walked over to poor Adrienne, and shot her twice in the head. Hold on to your bra. Okay. Hold on to your bra for this next one.
Shoot.
Diane and David go back to the car. And the first thing they say to each other was, I love you.
No, stop it. What idiots. Like, you can't make this stuff up. Like, they really think, what do they think? They're going to live happily ever after? Because now I'm pretty sure they're in two separate cells.
Yeah. Yeah.
Far away from each other.
Yeah.
And can't even write each other.
Yeah. So you think that's gross? Diane all of a sudden says right after that,
oh no,
we should not have done that, David. You think?
Oh
now you want to say this?
Yeah, for real, when it was your freaking idea, you idiot.
Yeah. And also, can I just ask, what the hell was going on in her mind? God is supposedly all, don't sleep around before you get married.
Yeah.
And we'll be pissed off at you if you do, possibly smite you.
Yeah.
But he's gonna be okay with murder? Really?
Yeah,
murdering.
Why you gotta talk like you're freaking Sister Mary Clarence when in reality you're over there like,
you're like Dolores Van Cartier.
Huh?
Dolores Van Cartier. Gotta watch that movie. I love that name. I want that to be my fake name when I go out.
Oh my gosh, that'd be amazing. Can we please use that when we go out next time? That's gonna be your name on when we for reservations.
Dolores Van Cartier.
Remember when we worked at Lens Crafters and we wrote down Tupac and the lady was like, Tupac?
Oh, wasn't it Grace? Oh, we were mature. Yeah, oh my God. But so the whole like rationalizing in her head was just I'll never understand it. But anyways, after that disgusting moment in the car, they were like, we got to get rid of our bloody clothes, we got to clean the car, which had blood in it, and then they went home. But they didn't go home. They actually went to David's friend's house because, like, I don't know. They could just knock on someone's door at 1 o'clock in the or 2 a.m. and be like, hi, kind of covered in blood, and he's not gonna
Right.
ask questions. But
Exactly.
we'll get into that in a little minute. So yeah, so they do that, and somewhere around this time, David gets sick and he like throws up. So guilt, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Diane was kind of crying, but then David was comforting her, and then she was okay. So they rest for a little bit at the friend's house, and then she goes home at some point. She grabs her day planner. Yep.
Ding ding.
Opens to the calendar section. The weekly part, I think, where you have the space to write things on the day, like 7-day section.
No. Uh-huh.
And she stupidly writes Adrian, circled it, and then wrote the time, 1:38 a.m. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
you
that
can't make
happened.
this stuff up.
No, you can't. You cannot. And so anyways, one thing that I wasn't going to mention, but I think it's hilarious. So like before the trial, they were obviously held in jail. They were like not next door to each other, but they were able to communicate like via letters. Actually, it could like pass notes or whatever.
Mhm.
And they would reportedly like yell through the toilets to each other. Like people were like, get this trick out of here.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah. But somewhere along the line before trial, like things go sour.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about the trial. So Diane and David, they actually had separate trials. Diane's was the first, and it started in February 98, and it only lasted 2 weeks. And by this time, they had turned on one another. Ah, true love.
Wow.
So anyways, the trial was actually filmed and aired on TV, so it was highly publicized. There was even a movie made about it, and it was definitely a trial to watch. Diane's bestie testified and talked about the motive, which was David's alleged sexual encounter with Adrian, and that she had heard about their plan to kill Adrian. Okay, and now I want to stress that I'm not clear on whether or not she heard about the plan before it took place or after, but I'm thinking it was after, because I'm sure we would have heard more about her being stupid and not like telling anybody. So we're going to give her the benefit of the doubt. Plus she testified against her. So that says a lot. Also on the witness stand was David's BFF, John. He testified that the lovebirds showed up to his house the night of the murder after it had been committed. He talked about David seeming calm and comforting Diane, who was crying. They ended up falling asleep for a couple of hours, holding each other on his floor. Now, this next one's a doozy. One of the roommates, well, Diane's roommates, testified about how when Diane told them he had killed for her, that Adrian was nothing but a slut and a tramp, and that she deserved to die.
Dang. Okay. Regardless, you could be a slut tramp. I don't care. No, you don't deserve to die over that.
Right? And so aside from these testimonies, the evidence itself was clear cut. They had the gun, they had the weight, Adrian's blood, and drum roll please, Diane's day planner with Adrian's name written in on the date along with the time of death, because the ME confirmed she died around that time.
What an idiot. That's like that is the word of the day. What an idiot. Who does that? I mean, you know what though? I would do something like
that. Dear diary, today I killed someone at this exact time and I hid the weapons here.
For real. Or it'd be like a knife, you know?
God. No, she was not, and she is not. When I hear her speak, it's like, where are you? Where are you, Diane? Like, are you with us or are you on Mars?
Yeah, she's been on Mars since, since day one.
Exactly. No,
I can't.
But her defense counsel, they tried to argue that Diane was under David's control. And Diane herself, because she also testified, she claimed that she was only guilty of one thing, and that was covering up the crime in order to protect David. Excuse me. If you watch her testimony or listen to it, you can barely understand what she's saying because she's blubbering like a fool and it does not look genuine. She's always maintained her innocence and said while she did go with David to see Adrian that night, she only went with the intention of talking to her. She thought supposedly they were just going to all chat.
This was her idea.
Well, she's saying it wasn't. She says she had no idea what he was going to do. The jury was like, whatever. They came back with the verdict a few hours later. Okay. Good. Again, this trial took place over the span of only 2 weeks. Okay.
Amazing.
And she was found guilty on February 17th, 1998, and was sentenced to life in jail with the possibility of parole in 2036 after serving 40 years. So that's 10 years away, give or take a couple. So David's trial began in July of 98. And by this time he had broken off the engagement. His defense counsel argued that there was no physical evidence linking him to the crime. And the only solid proof they had on him was his confession, which they argued that he gave under duress and without a lawyer present. Okay. David got on the stand and testified that he never would have participated in the murder had it not been for Diane's pressure. He claimed he met up with Diane after she murdered Adrian in a blind rage and only hid the weapons that she used to commit the crime in order to protect her. And I should say, I want to back up a little bit. They argued no physical evidence. And you're like, what the hell? Like his weight, blah, 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 blah. The car, apparently the car was Diane's, not his. So,
interesting.
So really, and then the fact that he had given that confession while exhausted and without an attorney seemed like they were like, okay. So, anyways, he was acting a little smug on the stand, which made the jury kind of dislike him. And then the question came up about whether or not he even had sex with Adrian to begin with. Yeah, so this is messed up. Apparently he claimed back when he confessed to Diane and everything that he had slept with Adrian after a cross-country meeting an hour or two away from home. He allegedly gave her a ride home and gave a date. I think it was sometime in November, so the November before she was killed. And she told him to stop in a parking lot of an elementary school, and that's where they had sex. But one of Adrian's friends heard about this. She testified that she had been the one to drive Adrian home that night. She's like, nuh-uh, I drove her home that night. Also, it wasn't in her character to sleep around, especially since she had a boyfriend. She wasn't like one to go from guy to guy. She was flirty. She was pretty, blah, 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 but she had her boyfriend. Like it wasn't, it's like finding out you like, you're with Tony, but then you hooked up with so-and-so one time in the parking lot of a school. So did this fool make the whole thing up? Why? And was her murder truly like for nothing? I mean, it wasn't worth for nothing, but like even more now. Right. Anyways, yeah. So like the jury was like,
was he trying to make her jealous?
Or maybe trying to get away from her? I don't know. Because she was really like, it was a very intense relationship. She was very like, we're saving ourselves for each other. We're going to get married. I think he loved her. Didn't want to lose her, but also was like, he went on to say in an interview that I saw that it was intense really fast. And he was like, I don't think neither of us were ready for the kind of love that we had. So maybe it was his trying to get out, but then he backfired in. Yeah. At any rate, the jury was like, you are guilty AF. So he was sentenced to life with the possibility of parole in 2036 as well. So they got the same sentence. So off they trot. David actually acknowledged in interviews after the fact that he knows what he did was wrong and that he deserves to be in jail. And he's actually thriving in jail. He spends his days working out. He got his college degree in criminology. And he even compares prison life to military life a little bit. It's like, it's very disciplined, except it's way less honorable. And like, you're not treated with respect. Like the guards they treat you like you're trash.
Right.
Diane, karma. Diane's having a lousy time in the slammer. Hold on to your butt for this, what I'm going to tell you right now. Are you ready? Hold on to your butt. So she bounced around between different jails and spent some time at Mountain View Unit, a maximum security women's prison in Gatesville, Texas, where she ended up befriending another infamous female murderer. Yeah. You want to know who it is?
Yes.
Yolanda Saldivar.
Hell no. Oh my God. You know what? Birds of a feather flock together.
Yes, exactly. And if
Oh,
you guys don't know what we're talking about, Yolanda Saldivar is in jail rotting and actually is getting ready to be released in 2025 for the murder of
dang.
Selena Quintanilla Perez. So they became friends because no one could stand either of them because of the fact that both had highly publicized cases. They knew why they were up in there. And I think
Mhm.
Diane even tried to petition to have them both moved to solitary or something, like even tighter security than like Gen Pop, because
Mhm.
she feared for their safety. But people speculated that she was asking for this because it was a known fact that where she was trying to get moved, it had like air conditioning and TV and stuff like
Mm.
that. The courts were like, denied.
Thank
So
you.
yeah. And then lastly, both David and Diane ended up marrying other peeps while in the slammer. They call it marriage by proxy. Diane married some Joe that she never met, and they were married for a couple of years and divorced in 2010. And I think
While she
David's
was
still
still in
married.
the slammer?
Yeah, you know, when they get married in jail, like they get fan letters and stuff. And
Ugh.
so yeah,
Oh
so
my gosh.
they moved on, and yeah, and they're going to be released maybe in a couple of years, but that, my friend, is the case of the Killer
Ugh.
Cadets. Thoughts, musings?
Oh my gosh, there's so many thoughts. I still can't believe she is in jail with and they I you know it's crazy. So when I looked up this case, that came up. But it didn't click that that was her.
Mhm.
And I was like, and even when you said it, I was like, who? Because it didn't click in my head that it was that. Because I'm like, but that is insane. I'm sorry. And but you know what? This chick, she has a face that we talked about this before. We won't get into detail, but she has a certain look, and it's just
Mhm.
irritating.
I know.
You just want to slap the crap out of her,
Yep.
you know? And she reminds me, her face, you know, who she reminds me of is Rachel from
Yes, the thank you, real
Real
world.
World. She has that face, you know, like same shape, like there's just something about it. But
Yeah.
what's crazy to me is that I wonder if she, because when you were talking about it and how he kind of like took the blame, kind of, right? Like at first when he confessed and all this other stuff. But then, obviously he backtracked. But when you think about it, I was wondering, okay, maybe he did this because he was hoping, like, what was it? Like, because, okay, so when I'm trying to think of what I was trying to think of when you had said so. I was actually a good point, because I'm trying to think of like what his intentions were, or what, like, was he trying to get closer to her? Was he not? Like, this is very puzzling here.
I know. I know, because he had his out. If he really didn't sleep with Adrian and created this whole story to like piss her off, maybe he was hoping that she would just dump him.
Mm-hmm.
But when she started to like hit herself, she was trying to like give herself a concussion. She was trying to do harm to herself
Wow.
when she was hitting her head. I
Mm-hmm.
think that might have scared him. Like, uh-oh,
Mm-hmm.
like, when you're with someone and they like threaten to hurt
Yes.
themselves, you can never leave me.
Mm-hmm. Oh
Yeah.
yes, we know.
So maybe that happened.
Because I'm thinking, and then I was thinking, I was like, okay, maybe she Gosh, did she have that much control over him? Like maybe when she said, I'd kill for you, maybe she didn't really mean it. And, just kind of like, I love you that much, I'd kill for you. And because even when you said it to me, I was like, what? Like she actually said that? Like, we all say
Yeah.
things we don't really mean. That's just proof that
Right.
you should never say stuff like that because, people, especially nowadays, whatever you say or do, write down, it could come and bite you in the ass. Because
Right.
then if something does happen, or even if it does happen and you're in that area, oh, well, she
Yeah.
was talking about killing someone that night and you were maybe just joking around. Like just don't joke like that because you never
Don't.
know. You
You never
never
know who's
know.
listening, Like, my
Yes.
God.
But I'm like, maybe he just did this to like try and prove his love to her,
I
you
think,
know?
yeah, for sure. For sure.
And I don't think
Definitely.
she may, and maybe I'm just playing the devil's advocate here. Maybe she didn't really want to go through with it, but she saw
Mm.
like, oh my gosh, he's like, he really loves me. He would actually do this. Like he was actually, down for that. Like he would actually kill her for me.
I believe she definitely wanted her to die. I think she truly believed that by eliminating the woman, the other woman, that would restore what they had because they started having sex before they got married. Her virginity was very important to her. And so she rationalized that because she lost her virginity to the man she was going to marry and he lost it to her, that's it. And it's nobody else will be touched by the other you know what I mean? Like they're just going to be with each other and only each other. So I totally believe that she
Hmm.
wanted Adrian dead.
Yeah, no, I agree too. She's psycho. Looking at her face, I'm just like, she had every intention on killing her, and that poor girl.
Girl, no. And can I just say, I forgot to tell you this. They went to the funeral. Yeah. Cause because
I can't. Who
murderers
does
go.
that? I mean, yeah, actually, I was just
Murderers.
gonna say they do. Yeah, just like they arrive at the crime scenes while they're trying to find the murderers. I just, I don't know. Wow, this case. It's funny when I looked through like pictures of this case, I remember it from when I was younger. I guess
Yeah.
I remember seeing pictures of her face and his face on the news.
People
But I
magazine.
remember it on Court TV because I it was
Yep.
during a time when my mom always used to watch Court TV because it was around the time of like the OJ Simpson
Hmm.
trial and all these things were like really big. So, Court TV was pretty big back then.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and I remember her. I remember her going into court. Like there's certain scenes, pictures, photos that I see that I'm like, oh man, I remember her. I didn't know what it was about because we were young, fans, young, free, and living our best lives, right? So I wasn't gonna stop and watch it. But now I'm like, dang, this is deep. This is crazy. See, you know what? Young love, young love's crazy.
Yeah.
I just want to say that. Like, you know, that's why I gotta say, when you fall in love when you're young, be careful
I agree.
because these emotions are you feel like they're emotions you've never felt before. They take over your whole mind, your whole being. And when you're wronged in that case, uh, it can go south quick.
Hmm.
You know, you do things for love and you get crazy, and it's just because you're not thinking right. Like you're not logical. You're not thinking logical for certain things. Like, maybe if they were 25, would they really think that this would be something smart to do?
Right.
You know? Wow.
I mean, all I know is that this case and like relationships like this, it's just a real this case, it's a tragic example of what can happen when you have jealousy and
Mm-hmm.
revenge and it just kind of spirals out of control. I mean, this murder of this poor girl, she was so young, she had her whole life ahead of her. It was brutal. and it was
Mm-hmm.
senseless, and it shattered the lives of everyone involved, including the murderers, because they could have gone far. You know what I mean? Like, who knows how far Diane would have gone. She may have, had her dream come true of becoming an astronaut, and the same with
Yeah.
David. I mean, they wanted to serve the country, and that's shot to hell. And so their dreams are shattered. The family, Adrian's family, they're never going to be the same again. And
Real
for
quick, how long
what?
did David get
The
sentenced for?
same,
The
the same
same.
life, with the possibility of parole after 40 years served. So 2036.
Dang.
Yeah. And you know
Wow.
how they be letting people out for good behavior.
I was
And
gonna say that. Are they coming out for?
well, also mean, the family, they could have pursued the death penalty in this case, but they said no. They're like, no more people should die. And they were satisfied with the sentence, including the whole like 2036 possibility.
Mm-hmm.
I think the system works that you can petition, like if you're a victim or a family member of a victim, you can say, no, you need to, no, parole out of the
Right.
question.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see Adrian's family doing that. I think that they might be out in
Mm-hmm.
2036. I don't think they'll fight
Wow.
it. Yeah.
Dang.
Because like they said, they've said in the past, they've said it a lot, nothing will ever bring back their daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow. That's intense. Man. Do you believe in the death penalty?
I I do, like I do, but I prefer people to rot in jail
Mm-hmm.
and I want them to be haunted by what they've done.
Right.
So I feel like death is the easy way out.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because the electric chairs, all this, like what, they just inject you and
Mm-hmm.
you go memes, for
Right.
life.
Exactly.
So and then you don't think about what you did and the lives you've ruined. So maybe I don't believe in it. How about you?
I do to a certain extent. I think it depends on the situation.
Mhm.
When you have a case like this, I feel like they should rot. See, I believe in life, like
Mhm.
no possibility of
I
getting out.
agree. Me
Like it
too.
shouldn't even be an option. You kill
Me too.
someone, you take their life away, they're never coming back. Therefore, you should never have a chance to be with, humanity, okay, out in public,
I
right?
agree because they're going to be young when they get out.
Yes, exactly. And, they didn't have a say. You killed them, you know?
Exactly.
But when you have people like crazy killers, like, what's his name? Like serial killers, like that have no soul,
Mhm.
those type of people, they could care less if they're rotting in jail,
True.
you
Then
know?
put the needle in them
Yeah.
immediately.
If that's the case,
Yeah.
just yeah. And I think that it should be, I can't remember what state it was. I was listening to something a couple months ago where was it, I don't know, some like Midwest state, and it was like they were bringing back the death penalty but not lethal injection. I believe it was by gunfire.
Oh, that makes me feel weird.
Yeah. But I was like, okay, I'm fine with that.
You know,
Only because I feel
where,
like if people, like when you think of who's that serial with the helter skelter,
yeah, Charles
yeah,
Manson.
okay, someone like him,
Yeah,
like I think you should allow the victims' families to have the opportunity to do that. You know
I
what I mean?
agree.
And I think you would find that a lot of the victims' families probably would say no, but I think they should be given that chance,
Yeah.
and see what kind of freaking coward he's gonna be with freaking guns pointed at his face. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? When you're evil like that, I don't think we should have pity. We're wasting our money on these people. Like for
And
what? When
they're
we know they've done it.
also, these people are allowed to get like fan letters and
Yes,
authors coming
no.
through and all that now. So I agree with you in that sense. Like there's yes. So in that case, I do believe in the death penalty
Yeah,
because some peeps be having fun up in jail and like benefiting off people's tax dollars.
exactly. And I feel like, I know, when it comes to the lesser crimes, like, I feel like we need more programs for them to help people that are dealing with drugs, because especially like with gangs and even, it's sad. I went to one of the jails when I worked for the court, and it's sad. You see these people that are up for life in prison because they've killed someone, but they were young, they were in gangs, they had no family. You know,
Mhm.
that kind of case, I mean, it makes me sad because they just, wipe their whole life away, right?
Right.
Because of an action that they were involved in when they were younger. She's so cute.
Sorry.
And it makes you think like, okay, it hurts your heart, especially if they have kids,
Right.
and wrong choices as a young kid. I think those are a little different.
Mhm.
But in the bigger scheme of things, I feel like our judicial system when it comes, or even like our prison systems, man, they're like freaking, a lot of people commit crimes to go back to jail or go back to prison because they have good food. They could buy snacks, they could buy God knows what, they could have jobs, they could work out, get buff. Okay.
Mhm.
They can watch television. It does suck, but for
Yeah.
them, like, you could have a boyfriend in there, a girlfriend in there.
You
You know
get
what I mean?
married.
Yeah, they should not
Yeah.
have any of that. But I have a real quick question before we end this. So, and I don't believe this is a 90s case, but it's in the news right now. That Natalie Holloway guy, he was in prison in Peru,
Mhm.
right? So I heard something, I don't know if this is true, and I don't know if you know anything about the prison system in Peru. They
Oh,
said in Peru, they were saying that he was treated like, I mean, it wasn't like a bad time up in there. Like he was
wow, that's
actually,
shocking.
yeah, the prison system actually wasn't that bad, and he was like treated pretty fairly. And I don't know, do
Really?
you know anything about like the prison system in Peru?
It's
I
not
thought it wasn't, I thought it was, I thought
it's not
anywhere other than
peachy.
the US it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like how prison should be. But
Exactly.
I don't know. I'll have to do more research on that. But they were saying that I guess his dad was either a judge or something like that.
Yeah.
So he
Mhm.
got preferential
Of
treatment.
course, nepotism at its
Hmm.
finest. I believe he's
Exactly.
the killer for sure.
Oh, completely. And I mean, he's put that mom, that family through
Yeah.
so much. I mean, ugh, he's the devil. I mean, I hope when he gets extradited, I don't know if he's already been extradited over here, but I hope when he gets over here, they really like do a number on him.
I
Because people
agree.
like that do not, he's already done so much, not just to her,
Mhm.
but to many other people. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see in 2035, how old will we be?
48 or something like that. Let me see. 2036.
Okay, it's 2036.
55.
Shoot. Okay, man. Okay.
That's
Well,
scary.
that is scary. Gosh. How old will they be? They'll probably be around the same age, a little
They'll
bit
be like
older than us, right?
60. Yeah. Even, or maybe like 58, 59. They're only a couple
Dang.
years older than us.
Well, you know what? Just I don't know. This case was interesting. I enjoyed it a lot. And you know what? I didn't listen to it. I actually think I'm going to start doing that now unless I know the case. But I'm going to be like the listeners where I don't know. Like sometimes it's kind of more exciting when you don't know. Cuz I
Uh-huh.
was like, I looked it up just a little bit just to get a little familiar, but I didn't really know the story behind it.
Yeah.
It was wow. I was like, I mean, we even, I mean, it's just yeah, I just like being surprised.
Nice.
Yeah. I loved it. Great job, Steph.
Thanks, Neen. Thank you so much for talking with me tonight about this. Yeah, this is one of my like I don't know. I've always been intrigued by a love triangle.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, it 9 times out of 10 does lead to murder. So be safe out there, be clean out
Yes.
there.
That's for sure.
Be careful
Shoot.
who you sleep with. I'm
Yeah.
talking about not the poor innocent girl. I'm talking about like, do you know who your partner is?
Okay.
Like,
No, for
are they a
real.
Diane?
Yeah.
I know some
For
Dianes.
mhm. Okay, for real.
He's the
We sure
best.
do.
If you're a Diane, take a seat. Okay,
Thank
thanks.
you.
not being a menace to society. But
And she
again,
would be friends with Yolanda.
of course, I'd forgotten about that. And then when I was researching, I was like, oh my God, that's right. And they were like BFF. So I wonder if they're still
Do
in
you think
touch.
she'll be killed when she gets out of
Yes.
jail, prison,
Yes.
whatever?
Yes.
Oh man, karma's a bitch.
Karma's a hoe, and she never
Okay.
misses.
Amen.
Amen. We need that on a mug. But
Mm-hmm.
thank you everybody for joining us on this evening. And you'll be listening to this on Friday. So have an amazing weekend. Thank you to my beautiful Neen for convoing with me and going down this little rabbit hole of deception and cochinanis. And special thanks to baby Toti for being a good girl and not barking.
Look at her little bedhead.
Yeah. And catch you on the flip side, Neen.
Oh yeah. Well, peace out, buddies. It's been real.